So I was perusing Reddit, the cesspool of the internet, and normally I see a whole bunch of retarded shit posted here, and usually people call it out and provide decent arguments in some manner to what people are saying, but this person, even though terrible grammar and probably doesn't even speak English as their first language, but it's basically saying if we're required to have 16 champions to play ranked LoL, why aren't people required to have tier 3 runes? It's like, honestly, I feel like that's a pretty fair question. It doesn't really seem to make sense that you throw a whole bunch of people in one pool, and then some of them see, this is the thing. Runes are a non-skill-based advantage-disadvantage. So, theoretically, if you actually are putting two people against each other that are of equal skill, the person with the better runes, like, statistically speaking, I hate using that terminology, but statistically speaking, that person should win more than the other person. Now, obviously, there's a whole bunch of other factors that go into whether you win or lose, but if we assume an imaginary situation where it's equal skill players playing against each other, obviously. So it feels like it makes sense that everybody should have the equal playing field of equal runes. Like, you wouldn't play chess and then just have, like, one piece taken away, or it'd be more like there'd be, like, a special restriction on what one player can do that the other player doesn't have, less extreme than just taking a piece away. But most of these people just completely miss the point. Okay, so like the response on like the front page is simple. If you have less than 16 champs, you could, highly unlikely, but still, find yourself without anything to pick at all. So simply, you couldn't play at all. But guess what? It's completely possible to play without level 3 runes, and if you have the mechanics of a medium silver player, that shouldn't prevent you to reach silver. So, the whole beginning part is just, like, pedantical, basically. Like, the original poster was not, like, oh, why do you have to have 16 champions? That's obviously not what he was saying at all. I think everybody understands that you literally wouldn't be able to play in certain situations if you didn't have at least 16 champions. Makes perfect sense. And then it's just like this statement. This statement just hurts my head. Like, okay, sure, if I'm Dyrus, I could probably beat up on a lot of silver and gold players without runes. But we're not talking about something like that. We're not talking about a person being able to get higher without runes. We're talking about fairness and, like, equal skill players. Like, the ELO system is still trying to assume, like, these people that they're throwing up against each other are equally skilled, and is trying to get them closer and closer and closer to that point where it's actually equally skilled. So throwing these outliers, not necessarily outliers, I guess, but throwing these more chaos into the system that's not skill-based at all seems completely pointless. But then, see, there's a whole bunch of people. This person said the difference between a full rune page with tier 3 and empty rune page, so I don't know what that means. There were some people that... This person brings up the issue of the people that are coming into ranked and ruining 1200 MMR, which that's completely true too. Okay, here's... People basically making similar statements. More often than not, they actually make the statement of, like, well, you can still gain ELO even if you don't have runes, but... Oh, wait, is this person? Yeah, here it is. You can play one game with people around 1200. If you win, you get higher. If you lose a drop, I'm pretty sure I can climb without any runes. I'm going to tier 3 runes. So this is irrelevant to the point. Like, we're not talking about this. We don't care about certain people that are already better than ELO, their ELO, getting higher. We don't care about that. That's not the problem. The problem is people of equal skill playing each other that have runes and that have not runes, affecting other people on their team, and people coming into ranked in that silver 3-4 area that are affecting people that are, like, short run, it can very adversely affect, like, where that person's going to go if they've been in the silver 3 and 4 area. Maybe not much, but you're still hurting those people for virtually no reason. It's not a skill thing. It's you just don't have runes. So, but the main comment is this one. But it can occur to the other team just as much, so it doesn't actually affect the outcomes of a set of games. Okay. People on the forums, Reddit, everywhere, are just like all amateur statisticians. Like this all came about with the Elo health thing. It's like, technically you have, see, if you don't count yourself as like a troll, a feeder, or whatever, there's always is it a 20% chance? See, 5 people, there's 4 on your team that could be trolls, and there's 5 on their team that could be trolls. So basically, that in itself is also not really good statistics, but it's a lot hard to argue against that position. But if we're talking about 4 people versus 5 people, and whether or not they have runes, it's not like, okay, if we're talking about over 500 to 1,000 games, okay, yeah. What this people don't get is short run versus long run. The short run is actually long. Like there's a lot of games before you're technically like talking about a long run situation, and there's certain like aspects of the short run that could make the short run go on longer than normal or less long than normal. It just depends on a whole bunch of other factors. There's a lot of chaos in the system inherently, but trying to make the flat-out statement that just because you are part of one team and the other team is 5 other random people, you cannot inference that just because of that they have a higher likelihood of having some negative thing be on their team. That's not, there's no, it's not really even logical. Like, you're just assuming that because there's more, then automatically, maybe in the long run, but for the short run that goes on for quite a while, that just isn't the case for a variety of reasons. And the other thing is, okay, if you quantified it as trolls and AFKers, it's harder to say that, like, okay, yeah, there'd probably be a higher likelihood that you'd have less trolls and AFKers if you are comparing this team to that team, but that could get into a whole bunch of other things too. However, that's not usually what is the problem. It's more like people getting put in the wrong position that they can't really play, arguments because of stuff like that happening, bad matchups. Like if I get first pick, I could be the best mid player out of those 5 people, and usually am anyway, at least versatility wise and lane phase wise. It doesn't matter though if I pick something and somebody decides to pick a counter pick, and then I can't win lane and carry the game because of it. So like, even though I could have been the last pick and then gotten mid that way, and then counterpicked their mid, had a higher likelihood of success, because I'm stuck in that first spot, and I can't always get the last person to agree to something like that, or people in the middle will just take a mid immediately, or something like that, or I don't have enough champions. That's an issue too. I don't have enough champions to like trade properly, get a counterpick, and all that kind of stuff. These create an insane amount of chaos that you can't just simply throw it and just say, just because you're on the one team, you automatically have a higher like chance of not having bad things happen. Then what I just mentioned, there's some very few reasons that could be the case. I mean, the fact that we force people to play certain roles that may not be the best at in the first place creates like infinite chaos, essentially. Like, if you actually put people in their best roles, like if you could do that, the game would probably become more even, like skill-wise. Like, Elo would mean something more, because I could play mid every game and get a favorable pick and be played against the person that's their theoretical worst mid lane player, and then just keep gaining Elo off of that. Or I could get stuck in an unfavorable matchup, not feed, but not be able to carry the game because I didn't get fed and then my other lane's just lost. And, like, there's really just not anything I can do about that because the person that's playing against me pressures me enough that I can't roam if I'm a roaming champion, or I just can't get fed and carry the game, etc. Those are all chaos type situations that don't just boil down to like this simple, stupid statistical idea of your team versus their team, and then these, but it's really aggravating because people are arguing about something that's not skill based. Like, I can understand all that other stuff. Okay, that's just like a whole bunch of skill based stuff. But really, even like picking champions for counter picks and stuff, if that's a skill thing, well, that really brings me to the point of like, I play in Diamond. Some people understand how picking works and other people don't, and that creates more chaos too. Like, because people get to a higher elo, but they didn't actually learn some of the fundamentals of the game that they really need to support their team to get higher, but they just don't have that. So you could be stuck with someone who's just like, oh, I only play this champion, but I refuse to play something for the like champions that can determine the game if like your team comp's just worse. And it's really hard to get people to work together on that. So you could technically have a theoretically more skilled team, but you don't actually have the correct picks to make that work against the other team too. And you definitely can't just boil that down to it's going to happen more often on this side versus this side because of like the randomness of pick order and the randomness of what champions this person has, what lanes they can play, and all that. That in itself is enough to make it so you can't boil it down to that formula. But getting back to this, it's like, but this is something that could be fixed easily. Like, just make it so runes are available to everybody. And they're just all the same, like they're all just tier 3 runes. Problem solved. You would never have this issue ever again. You would never have these matchups where they're wonky because one person has runes and one person doesn't. But there's people that are kind of railing like against this, or like pointing out, it's like, oh, they don't actually, it doesn't affect the game that much or anything like that. It's just like, are you insane? Like, I don't understand. See if there's any more like stupid shit. Someone again pointing out, oh, well, you can't do that because you wouldn't have enough champions to play the game. Like, did you even read what the person said? I don't understand. Same thing right here, pointing out. See, this is just stupidity. People don't understand the context of a question or what, but this is stupid. Like saying like, we know that you can't play a game without 16 champions, but this is understood already. That's not the question. Again, pointing this out, it's like, this is obviously not what the person was talking about. Again. And then someone throwing in an actual evidence, I did fine with one full rune page. It's like, one rune page, only having one rune page is an insane issue if you have role conflicts. Like, you can't get the role that your rune page is actually used for. Once again, stupid. The rune roll you're suggesting literally has zero impact on what goes on. I don't even know. Like, it has zero impact. What? It obviously has impact. I mean, there's no way that you can say that someone with tier 1 runes going against tier 3 runes, there's no impact there. Or none. Nope. I don't see any problems. Nope. See no evil. Once again, retard. This is actually a good point. That'd be really hard to do, though. Oh, once again, stupid. How many of these answers are just stupid? Like 30 of them. It's like, this question was not that. Oh, this is the person right here making this argument. Why do people still assume it's only our teammate that does this? Let B break it down to logic for you. Oh, God. Let's assume you're one of these people that say, oh my God, my team is always filled with your dark. Okay, he's making a basic argument. Oh, my team never has full. Oh my God, what the fuck ever. If entire bronze is filled with these people, then in theory, Your team should consist of 4 times these people plus you. And every team should calculate. This is such terrible English. Do you see the logic? If all bronze is silver, okay. The problem here, really, like once again, is like you could be put against the person that doesn't have the runes, or somebody else that doesn't have the runes could be put against the person that has the runes, or like the person could be put against the person with no runes that has runes but just sucks more. Like I mean, those are all possibilities. There's a whole bunch of possibilities. You could be put up against a Smurf in the same group, same situation as this. The Smurfs are definitely the one thing that can influence games unfairly. That there's not really there's actually not an equal chance in that situation because you're already taking up one of the spots that could be a Smurf. So that's actually one situation where you can clearly point out that Smurfs can unfairly affect a game more for the enemy team technically than the other, but there's not like a strong case for that, but they really could show that Smurfs really unfairly impact games and really wish Smurfs couldn't be in them, but it's kind of what happens. But there's so many other factors that could have influenced the game that the runes thing could be irrelevant in that particular situation because of another factor like the Smurf. So it negates that. It's like this happened, but this other thing negates that thing that happened in that particular game, and you would need hundreds of games for like those things to balance out, and then you have more chaos like Smurfs thrown into the mix at the same time. But yeah, he's basically saying that this logic applies to this logic when it doesn't. Yeah, okay, this is just basically a fuck you, Elo Hell doesn't exist thing, which I agree that Elo Hell technically doesn't exist, but there's a whole bunch of issues that could be solved that could make lives better for the people that play this game in general. Okay, again, why? We know this. Oh, cool. So you're one of those fags that says, I only play one lane. Right? I mean, right? I mean, technically you could play like top and mid and AD with the same rune page, but you'd be restricted to a certain champion pool. Theoretically. Wait, what? Like, we're ruining your fun because... Well, I mean, I would suggest a system where everybody just has runes automatically, but, like, if you're going into ranked with the... like, this mentality of, like, you're ruining my fun because we're requiring you to have tier 3 runes, it's like, go play normals. Like, why are you even playing ranked without tier 3 runes? That's a great question. Why are people playing? Like, does that mean... That basically means you're going into ranked with a mentality that either that you're so much better than the elo that you're going to start in, or you don't care. So you're not trying to win. And it's like, why are you playing ranked then in the first place? That's so dumb. There's like a bajillion of these responses of like, yeah, that's true, because people in bronze and silver suck really bad, but that's not the point, again. Yeah, this is just a waste of time. There's not even anybody with any sense. But yeah, don't understand. Like, is there something I just don't understand about this? Like, why would this be a bad thing to make it so everybody just has equal runes? I mean, obviously from rights of profit, but from like from a standpoint of logic, it's like there seems to be no logical reason why everybody shouldn't just have the runes by themselves. There's no reason to give somebody an unfair advantage or an unfair disadvantage. Like, why? just don't get it.